Hey, family. Welcome back to the channel. All right, so very exciting. You clicked on the video because it says Ezekiel's Wheel. Yes, at the end of this is introduction to Essene Yoga. Talks about the Wheel of Ezekiel. And so I thought, how appropriate. It's about to be new moon. And I wanted to show you that. I don't really show this Stellarium program much anymore, but maybe I'll get back to showing it all the time because this is about what time it is and where everything is really at. And so in a few hours, 8 o'clock right now, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we're going to have a new moon. And it's in Aries, and she's lined up right with Big Poppy. I showed you this has been happening for the last couple of years that I've been looking up here. And so, new month, new moon, get those seeds in the ground. Yes, I was spent all day yesterday outside. We had a rainy day, and that was perfect time. No bugs. I got a lot of seeds in the ground. This is going to be a great harvest this year. I'm very excited. This is like my 4th year here. My 4th year really officially calling myself a gardener, and I'm having a blast. I had to prune the blackberry bush. That was here when I got here. There's a lot of things that were here when I got here already, so I have to take care of the land. My peonies, I got all them cleaned out and some mulch, so they're gonna bloom. I can't wait to post those pictures. But yes, busy, busy, busy. Busy little bee I've been. So get ready. If you haven't gotten your seeds in the ground, get them in the ground. I don't know when you're going to see this video, but next new moon, get them in the ground. That's the best time. It's something about the magnetism of the mama and the water being pulled up. So 2 weeks, all the seeds that I planted yesterday will be sprouted. All right, so let's get going. Ezekiel's Wheel. This is exciting. The end of the introduction to Essene Yoga. This is chapter 61 out of the Holy Megillah Nasarean Bible of the Essene Way. That is on page 752. Yahshua's advice to yogis of the Lions of Zion in response to a question from Philip the Lion. Verse 939. After the talk on Essene Yoga by Yahshua, Philip, one of the 3 lions of his presence, the 3 lions of Zion, assigned by rows to guard Yahshua, asked Yahshua a question. Philip said, Lord, do you have a word of advice for yogis of the lions of Zion? Yahshua replied, let each yogi lion also write poetry. That helps you remain appropriately soft even when you are being appropriately hard. A martial artist, especially one that, like you, serves in security and thus trains appropriately for that role, is well served by also training in soft yin arts like poetry or painting or music or weaving or cooking and the like. In that way, though you live a rather yang lifestyle, occasionally even engaging in physical battle to protect others from violence, you remain balanced, being thus appropriately balanced in life. Behold, even your martial art moves will become more appropriately balanced. Another question from Philip the Lion. Philip replied, I hear you, Lord. It is a similar meaning to that story you often tell us about Buddha and his disciples. I refer to that story that makes the point that a musical string, or a disciple, or a martial artist, or anyone else strung too tight will break, while a string that is too slack is equally inappropriate. The point is that balance in life is key, and appropriateness is according to the given moment and circumstance. Lord, I feel called to ask one more question in regards to the relationship of your yoga teachings and the martial art of Zion. However, You can answer another time if that is more appropriate. After all, you just preached a long sermon. Yahshua smiled and then said, Philip, horses love you, and for good reason. You are respectful and polite and kind, three virtues that I admire. The moment is appropriate. Ask your question. Philip said, Lord, I understand your statement that every Nasarean lion is also a Nasarean yogi. They would have to be. After all, Essene Yoga is the Nasarean spiritual path, our very religion. But I have a question about training. Should a Nasarean lion train as I have in various forms of martial arts, or like you, and of course like Judah, the first lion of Zion, simply trust that the appropriate martial art moves will spontaneously be there whenever needed? So Philip's question is, should a Nasarean lion train or simply trust that the appropriate martial art moves will spontaneously be there whenever needed? Yahshua replied, whatever is appropriate for you, and that applies to everyone. Behold, you are a Nasarean lion with training appropriate to your chosen specialty, the use of martial arts to secure the safety of others from acts of violence. But not every other Nasarean lion is called to that particular ministry. Some have little use for or little inclination towards the sort of martial art training that includes sparring and training in various styles and forms. It is a matter of personal choice and appropriateness to one's life circumstances. But also know this, Philip the lion, though you have not seen me in the Wheel of Ezekiel, the circle within the training mat for lions, that do include such things as sparring in their martial arts practice, that does not mean that I never entered that wheel. As a youth and into my teens, both my father Joseph and my grandfather David taught me martial art moves in the Wheel of Ezekiel, the training circle for Nasarean martial artists. That was appropriate then. Now I just go with the flow and spontaneously move appropriately. For me, that is appropriate here and now. Yeshua added a last remark, of course, when I once rescued Miriam from a gang of attackers, I am sure that some of my spontaneous movements were those that I practiced in my previous training in the wheel. So, Judah the first was more spontaneous in martial arts than I, for he had no previous training, but I did. Yeah, so isn't that something, guys? I guess the Wheel of Ezekiel here in this Megillah, we're told, is the training circle for Nasarean martial artists. Now, we have a little bit about Ezekiel's wheel in the King James. We're just going to go there and then we're going to get out of here. This is not the end of the Essene Yoga series, but we finally made it to verse 967. And I think when I started this out, I told you that there was about 1,000 verses in here. And so just imagine Yahshua gave the whole talk in one sitting. Man, talk about knowledge. But let's go over and see what they have online about Ezekiel's wheel, because it's completely different. This is a training circle, the circle within the training mat for lions that do include such things as sparring in their martial arts practice. Wow. So that's what they call the training circle. Wheel of Ezekiel. So if you Google Ezekiel's wheel or Wheel of Ezekiel, you're going to get a whole lot of information, because it's in the Old Testament that they have a book of Ezekiel and he saw the wheel. I can't remember the song we used to sing when I was young in church, but he saw the wheel, they say. And it's pretty interesting now that I heard Yahshua talk about it being, the Wheel of Ezekiel, where the Nazarene martial artists train. And now I'm going back and reading it. Check this out. pretty interesting. We're just going to go over to the King James and pick it right up. It's in Ezekiel chapter 1, starts in verse 4. It's pretty lengthy, so I apologize, but I wanted, so much is coming to mind. I'm thinking about the Lions of Zion. I'm thinking about the four bodies of the Essene pyramid. I'm thinking about all the stuff that we just learned in this Nasarean Essene Yoga union with the tree of life, and how when you line yourself up, you bring harmony into all four of those bodies, bring those four bodies into harmony. You are like one touching zero. Remember, we read about samadhi, and then when you attain samadhi, then you go to the next level, walk in samadhi, birth in the baby Christ in this incarnation. Man, we read so much. This has been a very extremely long series, so but there's a lot to talk about and unpack. So I'm gonna try to do a little bit of that. Keep all of that in mind while we read this, what was given to us in the King James in the book of Ezekiel about these wheels. And also remember Gilgala, and her name means wheel. Remember the Nazarim, those cherubim that are on missions of mercy, the Ophanim, because it does tell you that that's what Ezekiel, the wheels are called, Ophanim, and there was cherubim. So let's read this in case you don't know what it talked about. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud and a fire enfolding itself, and a brightness was about it. And out of the midst thereof, as the color of amber, out of the midst of the fire, also out of the midst, it's talking about the chakras, the stones, the different colors. I'm telling you, man, this is all like, okay, I'm just gonna read it and you figure it out for yourself. Also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of four living creatures, and this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man, and everyone had four faces, and everyone had four wings, and their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like unto the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished brass. And they had the hands of a man under their wings on their four sides, and they four had their faces and their wings. Their wings were joined one to another. They turned not when they went. They went every one straight forward. As for the likeness of their faces, they four had the face of a man and the face of a lion. I know this King James is tough. It's even hard for me to read it, but I'm thinking that a lot of stuff could be encoded. Like we could go to an NIV or a different version, a new translation, and read it a lot simpler. But bear with me and just see if you hear what I'm hearing in these old English, whatever. This is just, it's hard to read it, but let's just try. As for the likeness of their faces, they four had the face of a man and the face of a lion. On the right side, they four had the face of an ox, and on the left side, they four also had the face of an eagle. Thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward. Two wings on every one were joined one to another, and two covered their bodies. And they went every one straight forward, whither the Spirit was to go. They went, and they turned not when they went. As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, and the like appearance of lamps. So I'm thinking about the chakras, because it says it went up and down amongst the living creatures, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning, and the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. Here it's going to start talking about the wheels down here finally. And then we're going to get out of here. Now, as I beheld the living creatures, behold, one wheel upon the earth by the living creatures, with his four faces, the appearance of the wheels, and their work was like unto the color of a beryl. That's green. That's like emerald green. So talk about the green lions, man. And their four and they four had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. When they went upon their four sides, and they turned not when they went. That's how Samson was kicking all of them. But it was over 50 men he had to fight because they were going to try to kill him that night. And he was climbing the walls, running upside down, knocking people out before they even knew he was in the room. So this is what it's sounding like. It's talking about this Zion, because even when Yahshua said he spontaneously, some of his moves were training moves that he learned in this Wheel of Ezekiel, right? That's why we're here. But there was a man, Judah, who spontaneously did all of these movements that were called Zion, which is another practice, which is after, it's like it keeps going. There's levels in this Essene Mystery School. So learning about the Essene Yoga and the union is just the beginning. You can go on to become and practice Zion, which is the Essene form of martial arts. And it's all about one touching zero, man. I'm telling you. If you know what that is, I hope you do. But I'm just going to stop here because this keeps going, but hopefully you know, and if you don't know, you can read more about this Ezekiel's wheel, what he saw. I'm sure if I keep going, I'll keep finding similarities. And soon I got Tai Chi class tonight. That was what I wanted to say, was that I started practicing Tai Chi as well over this time of bringing this Essene Yoga, and it's really brought me into balance. And that's what this is all about. It even says it, Yahshua talks about the wheel of balance in nature in the very beginning. That's the title that he gives it. He says it's called the wheel of balance in nature. And so that's after he does his first internal asana, which is give thanks for the breath of life that fills his lungs. And then he has first sip, and then he urinates it back to the earth, and he calls that the wheel of balance in nature. So we're going to read all about that when we get to those 16 asanas, and that might be coming next. I'm not sure. I'm real busy, y'all, in the yard and stuff, so I just wanted to make something so I don't lose touch with you guys, but I'll be back soon. All right, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Wheels of Ezekiel.